Now that we can identify some of the potential errors, let's go ahead and handle such errors gracefully in our application. So we are going to focus on the backend. And Express make it pretty easy to handle such errors. So we are going to create a middleware to handle such error. So let's get back to the server.js file, which is this one. And let me collapse this one and this one also, likewise these ones. And lastly, this and that. So these are our route. So how are we going to create a middleware to handle errors? And remember, a middleware is a function that have access to the request and then the response, which means that we can exit the application in case something happened and send that message to the user that, hey user, something has happened. So this is how we create error handling middleware in Express. So I will say error handling middleware. And this is how we create. We bring in app.use. And inside here, we're going to pass in only one argument. And that is callback function. You can use error function or function declaration. And here we're going to pass in 4 arguments. That is how Express requires. So anytime Express sees such middleware, it knows that this is error handling middleware. We're going to pass in error at the first argument, rec, response, and then the next function. And one key point that you need to bear in mind is that you need to place your error handling middleware below all your route, which means that in case something happens here in any of these routes, the last route or the middleware that will be called is this one. So inside here, if I log the error, with this one, save it and let's go ahead and trigger some error. And I'll show you something here. For the creating of the post, it requires for us to pass in these payloads. Now I have removed them, and if I hit send, as you can see, we got status code being set to 200, but down here we got validation error. If you see 200, it simply means that everything was okay. That is why React query assumed that the request was successful, but it is not. It's the way we are handling the error. And if we check inside the terminal, we're going to see empty object for the error. So let me show you why is this so. Remember, this is the last route that is going to be called, which means that in case something happens inside in any of this route, we need to send that error to the next middleware, in this case, this one. So inside the creating of the post, we need to pass that error to next. And the next will now pass that error to the error handling middleware, which is this. And remember, for the route handlers, we can pass in one more argument called next. And next is a function given to us by Express. So here, to pass the error, we are going to call it here, remove this, and then call next. And then we pass in the error over here. Now with this one being in place, let's try to call the function again, or the route. As you can see, it is hanging, meaning that we are not returning anything from the error middleware here, but now we have the error being cached inside our error handling middleware, which means that it is working. All right, so here we can send the error to the user. So here I will say that prepare the error messages or error message. So I will say const the actual message can be found on the error.message. So if I log the message here, let's see if I hit send and let's check the terminal. And now we got the message here as post validation failed. Alright, so let's go ahead and send that one to the user. So here we're going to use what is called res.json, or let me add the status code as res.status, and then pass in 500, and that is internal server error, and then JSON, and provide the message. Now with this one, if I try again, as you can see, we got simplified error message, which is awesome. So now on the front end, if I remove the title over here, and if I create a post, as you can see, now we got something different, and that is request failed with status code 500. Now we are on our way to improve the user experience. I will show you how we are going to get this error message inside the React query. Let's improve the error handling. For this one, in case you are not familiar with Node.js and you are trying to debug your code, you'll be asking yourself, where does this error comes from? This is where stack trace comes in. We will provide which kind of file that this error occurred and on which line of code that this error occurred. This is where we are going to provide what is called stack trace. So here I will say the stack is, let me provide it here as const and say stack is equal to error.stack. On that we have the stack property. Now with this one, if I try again, now we have this error message, and that is stack validation error, and it occurs on the users model, and it begins with the folder name as users, and then inside I have a folder called MERN blog, and the folder here is CRUD plus error handling. Inside I have a folder called backend and Node.js, and then if you look at the document, it tells you that the error is for MongoDB, and that is how we create the document. So at this point, we have improved the user experience. And next step is that in case we want to prevent duplication of error. Now let me bring back this one, and I'm going to create this post. It has been created, and I can create again. As you can see, it has been also created. So how are we going to avoid this? Alright, the next video, let's continue from here to avoid this and also display the actual error message from the backend to the user.